Hi, I'm Rieva Lesonsky. I am the president of Small Business Currents, and my website is smallbusinesscurrents.com. And I'm all about entrepreneurship. I've been covering entrepreneurship actually for like 40 years. So I was there before anybody knew what the word entrepreneur meant in America. I like to say that.
I love it. You have a story for us about your journey to the University of Missouri. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. So I grew up in New York, a suburb of New York City, Huntington out on Long Island. And when I was going to college, now, this is pre-computers. You couldn't sit down and figure out where you were going. And unbeknownst to me at the time, my mother told my guidance counselor, don't tell her anything outside the area from Washington, D.C. to Boston. So I didn't know about anything. I ended up at American University in Washington, D.C. And I was miserable. I just hated it. It was the year there were the riots in DC. Half my professors never showed up. My roommates, I hated it. So one day I'm lying in bed. I had the bottom of a bunk bed and I'm facing the wall. And I can't tell you if I was asleep or awake. I just do not know. And it was towards the end of the second semester, and I didn't know. No, it was sort of the beginning of the second semester, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I hear a voice, and I literally heard it, not like in my head, but I heard this voice, and the voice said, "Go to the library." And I'm like, what? Like, but it was very specific, and it says you have to go to the library tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, if you hear a voice, I believe in them. So I was like, well, somebody's telling me to go to the library, so I'm going to go to the library. So I go to the library, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And this voice is like guiding me, and it says, go to the college section where the college catalogs are. So I do. And I sit down on the floor because I don't know what to do. I just literally do not know what to do. So I just close my eyes and it says, Missouri, the voice. So there's the little cardboard boxes that, you put magazines or catalogs in. So there's one. I pull it out. It did not say Missouri. There was one. It said nothing. I pull it out. The catalog in there says University of Missouri. I open it up. It says Best Journalism School in America. I was like, okay, that's where I'm going. And the voice said, good work. And that was it. So I took the train up to New York that weekend, told my parents I wanted to transfer to the University of Missouri. My mother thought I was insane. My father was, whatever you want to do, I trust you. I trust your instincts. And I did. It's the only school I applied to transfer to. And I did. It was a great journalism education, a very bizarre human experience. I'm glad I went as somebody who, like I said, grew up in the suburbs of New York, spent my years in, New York City, and then I've been in California over 40 years now. So I very much on those coasts. So those 3 years I had in Missouri was eye-opening to say the least. But I'm really glad I did it. And I would not have gotten there I still don't know today who that voice was, because there was a lot of times in my life. My grandfather died when I was 6. And there are a lot of times that he communicated with me through various methods, appearances, Ouija boards, that kind of thing. I haven't heard from him in a very, very, very long time. He transitioned back to Earth, but so that was it. I ended up there, a great education because of some voice.
Wow. Have you had that voice guide you to anything else since arriving in California and being involved in your career?
I don't think it guided me in my career. I think that there are I'm not quite sure how to say this. There are I used to, I don't do it anymore. I used to dabble in Ouija board stuff a lot. And one day I was on the board, and when I first moved to California, I was living in an apartment complex. And I met this guy, and we became just like instant friends. Like there was like an instant connection with him, and then he was only there for summer and he left, and we kind of stayed in touch, and then we didn't. And so this was many years later, on the board, and this, I don't know who this, but it's something says hi. So this guy's name is Skip. Says you need to wish Skip a happy 40th birthday. And I'm like, Skip? I mean, I hadn't heard from Skip in like a million years. So I'm like, I don't even know where to reach him. So I actually try information. Again, pre-internet, right? And I find them, and I left a message and no return call. So I did it again, and he called me back. And through a very long, complicated, convoluted time, I don't even want to talk about it. He's out in the living room right now. So we've been together for a really long time. Yeah. And I would not have called him if whoever said on the Ouija board, it said it was his grandfather. I don't know. Maybe. But anyway, I called him, and that's where it is.
So you mentioned earlier that maybe your grandfather has come back. Is that a fundamental you have of like reincarnation or reanimation, or where does that come from?
Where does it come from? I don't, when I was a kid, I used to read a lot, and I would read a lot of these, like, was it Bridie Murphy or something? There's a legend of where it was a little girl in Ireland who, when she was born, like 3 or 4, started talking about this prior life. And so I would read that. I would read everything. I was a very curious, I was great reader, good reader, and I would read everything. And I never, like, who knows, right? I'm Jewish. The religion does not say that it's not possible. When I was in high school, friend of mine belonged to his temple, not the same one I went to, had a youth group, and they had a visiting rabbi. And again, think about this. It's the 60s, right? And this is a young rabbi. He was probably getting ready to find his own synagogue, and he was visiting at this one, but he was really young, and he was really I don't want to say he was a hippie, because that's such a stupid expression, but at the time, that's what people would have called him. And he would tell, so going to these meetings, because I found him fascinating. And my friend said, "Oh, you got to come. You'll really love this guy." He would talk about all the, how the Bible that we read today, the Bible that we see, it's not the Bible that was written. And that a lot of the popes changed the Bible. But in the original Bible, they talked a lot about reincarnation. And they talked a lot about, the original, there's a branch of Judaism called Kabbalahism, which is very mystical. It's all about mysticism. And Jews believe that there is no bridge between a person and God, right? It's like you don't need a minister or a rabbi to talk to God. God is there to talk to you and answer you. And Kabbalahism sort of makes that, even heightens that. I sort of grew up in a world where, yeah, it could be. Why not? Like, you don't, why would we waste the energy, right? It's sort of like energy can't be destroyed. And I've just, experiences that I've had in my life sort of make me say, yeah, I think I wouldn't say I guarantee it, but I would say it's very possible.
So yeah, you placed your bet on it. I want you to think for a second. If there was I want you to think about a time when you were vulnerable. When you were 6, you lost your grandfather. Could be 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter, right? Think of a time where you're going through something real hard, transitional period. Skip's not quite in your life yet. Haven't found that purpose, and you can travel back in time and just slip a little note into their pocket, into a little used pocket. How old are you? What does the note say? And what's going on at that point in your life?
Okay, so I'm not going to pinpoint that, but I'm going to say to you that I am on the older edge of the baby boomers, right? So I'm growing up along with all the women in my generation at a time where women are not, my guidance counselor. I was a good student. I was a really good student in high school. I was the secretary of the student council all my years in high school. I was very active, my teachers loved me. And my guidance counselor says, Riva, we have to talk about what you want to be. You can be a teacher. And I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. And I don't even know why I didn't want to be a teacher, because I think teaching is a really great profession. But I didn't want to be a teacher. And maybe I didn't want to be a teacher because he told me I could be a teacher. And my mother said that was his first mistake. Never tell me what I can do. So I said no. Then he said, okay, you can be a nurse. And I said, look, we all know that I actually conscientiously objected to dissecting the frog in biology. I wrote this whole paper out for my bio lab teacher, and I got away with it because they thought I was really clever being a conscientious objector. So he says, he goes, oh, that's right. Okay, well, you're too smart. No offense to anybody. You could be a secretary, but you're too smart to be a secretary, so you could be a teacher. And I'm like, now I'm feeling pressure, right? I don't want to be a teacher. So all I can remember is we used to get lots of newspapers when I was a kid. My sixth grade teacher made us all subscribe to the New York Times. I remember seeing women's names in a newspaper. So I just blurted out, I want to be a journalist. I had no idea. That was the only thing I could think of that would get me out of that. So I think that, and I'm all saying that because I entered in a world where it was very hard for women to get ahead. And when I first started working at Entrepreneur Magazine, like a million years ago, I was working with another woman, maybe a couple years younger than me, but the same kind of, and she said, there'll never be a woman editor of this magazine. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be the editor, even though I did, but I told her I didn't. And I became that, and I became that on time. And so the note that I would say to myself is just don't listen, right? Don't listen to the voices, that the real human outside voices. Listen to what's inside of you and what drives you forward, and just whatever it is you want to do. I like to say, and I said this in the eulogy at my dad's funeral, they were very young, my parents. My mom was almost 19. My dad had just turned 20, right? This was in the 50s. You go to high school, graduate, get married, have a baby. And that's what they did. But my dad was so young, and he was a sports fanatic. So he didn't care that his firstborn was a girl, right? So I was playing baseball with my dad early. My brother was born 2.5 years later. But I think my father in particular, my mother would object if I said this. I'll tell her later today that I said this. I talk to her every day. But father just raised me to just do whatever it is I wanted to do. Just like, you can do whatever you want. To him, there were just no limits. And I think that's the note, because there were times that it seemed like it was going to be impossible to do this. And I just kept going. And I don't think I'm an extraordinary person that way. I think everybody has those reserves. I listen to mine. I think a lot of people don't listen to what is in their head, what their inner voice is saying.
Riva, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Rieva at smallbusinesscurrents.com. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on, I won't call it X. You can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I prefer Blue Sky because I think the other one has become a hellscape. And just email me. I love to talk to people. If you have any questions about business, I'm happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
This has been the Pulse Ox Podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.